Not content with your content? You've come to the right place. The Discontent Show with Joe Kuzma. Every brand starts with a story. Here's how you can grow your business by sharing it. Now, with today's topic, the host of The Discontent Show, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Kuzma, and I'm the host here at The Discontent Show. Welcome to another episode jam-packed with tips and tricks to help you with your content marketing, campaigns, strategy, and etc., covering everything from blogs to podcasts to social media, ebooks, and your email newsletters and email marketing. But today, none of that stuff exists. Not one iota of it. Unless you have a website. Now, it can, but I got to tell you, I know there's some folks out there that are just kind of like, you know, Joe, some of this is a little over my head. I don't even know how to get started. And of course, I'm always mentioning how good content marketing, good content is drawing people to your brand and business. It's filtering through your website because that's where your blog, your podcast, and everything should be. If you're doing real well with emails or your social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, and everything of that nature, it's going to lead people back to you, back to your website, your repository, the thing you own and control, hopefully. What if you don't have a website? What if you're looking to get a new website started? What if, you paid someone like myself, someone that's an expert to set this stuff up for you in the past, and you're trying to be a DIYer. You're trying to go out there, do for yourself. Nothing wrong with that. Now, there's some things, though, that will make you look real amateurish. You might be just a one-man band, so to speak, out there on your own, but you don't want to give off the impression that you're small, that you can't handle the big accounts and take on those large challenges. Well, guess what? That's what today's episode is all about, and I'm sure even those of you with an established website that's out there, you can learn a thing or two as well. These are the three basic, it says basic, I said basic, you know why? 3 basic building blocks for any website. Why basic? Because you know what? I feel anyone can do this with the right time, effort, maybe a little know-how. You know what? If you get a little lost along the way, shoot me a message over on my own website, joekuzma.com, and that's where it all begins with a domain name. What is a domain name? What is a URL? These are the things you see being sold by Network Solutions or GoDaddy. Now, GoDaddy, oh man, they are like the grocery store. They're not even the grocery store anymore. They're like the Walmart of not only just domain names, but they'll try and sell you everything I just said, and you'll pay a pretty penny for it too if you're not careful. I'm going to talk about email. I'm going to talk about website hosting. Those are all 3 elements there when combined with the domain name. But the domain name, man, that's the big one, right? And there's nothing wrong with going to a GoDaddy, paying for a domain name. You know, it used to be you could get one for $1 for the first year. They still kind of do stuff like that. But you're looking at $12, $13, all the way up to $20 or more per year for registration if you want a domain name. And that's a custom name. That's what we're talking about here, domain name. What's a domain name? Like a .com. I just said joekuzma.com, but it could be .net, .info, .org. Usually .org reserved for things such as like nonprofits and that. You might want to look, if you're an organization or you run like a club or membership or something of that nature, you might want to be a .org. These are the things that make you look a little more professional. Now, there's other stuff that's out there. There's all kinds. There's like .tv and all these different fancy things you could do. And that, you know what, that's entirely up to you. It's not like every name on the web is used up, but it used to be you wanted something like pizza.com, or you know what, you used to have a client that had like one of these key names like that. It wasn't that one of these keywords, one of the big just names that people would just type in. Used to be, hey, you know what, I know what the name is. I'm typing it in directly. I think just about all of you out there just type it right into Google, or you ask Siri or Alexa or something like that, and then it finds it for you. And that's why the name is important as far as professionalism, but unless you're starting like a new brand and you have like some fancy like name, you found something that hasn't been taken and you're going to put that out there, you found some play on words, The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to have a domain name that's like 30 characters long, like Joe Kuzma Content Marketing Campaigns and Strategy.com is not easy for people to remember nor type without a typo. Even Google is going to like spit back at you and say, what did you type? So you got to be careful with that. Of course, if you go and use like acronyms, probably just as bad. ABCDEFG.info. I mean, it's hard enough already. Now you got to remember if it's like a .info. So be careful. Like, you know, you could have like a choice. You see a lot of stuff out there. What is it, like Uber or Lyft? Or Lyft's a good one because it's not spelled L-I-F-T, right? I mean, it's if you don't know what Lyft is and Uber, those are the on-demand. You use your smartphone, you get the car that's like a taxi that comes and gets you, right? So Lyft is spelled with a Y. You could do something like that. There's all kinds of sites out there. You got freelancers on Fiverr that's spelled with 2 R's and, you know, things of that nature. Or maybe it wasn't Fiverr, or maybe it was Triber. But you get my point here is you could be creative with certain things. If you already have an established brand, maybe you add the word the, or you use a number, or spell out a number, to use some type of variation unless you're absolutely stuck on that for your branding. I think you're going to be okay with the domain name type thing. Usually that's the hardest part, is figuring out, you know, what am I calling this? What am I going to name this? I know I had that kind of issue. I mean, my website's joekuzma.com just because personally I'm just branding myself, and it was just a lot easier to do that than try and do Discontent Show. And then it's like, well, I'm not just only doing the Discontent Show. I have many other services and things that I offer on my website. And if you have that too, you don't necessarily just want to kind of pigeonhole yourself into one thing. However, you can go to various many websites that will sell you these domain names. You got to be careful, because I actually ran into this years ago. Now, I've been doing this since about the turn of the century, that Y2K type thing. You know, we were all scared. 1999, 2000. That's how long I have been involved with doing websites. And I went and bought a domain name. I don't remember which one it is. It might have been like a previous business attempt or something I was doing for somebody else. But it was a disaster, because what I did was it was like some, like, I don't know, domain names for cheap.com or something like that. It was a fly-by-night. They didn't have the accreditation or whatever that you need internationally to do the whole domain name things. There's like some governing bodies and people who oversee this type of stuff and make sure, you know, if you buy something, you're getting what you actually get. And I lost it. So you got to be careful. I mean, you go to GoDaddy, you go to Network Solutions. There's a few others, but I mean, it's really, those two are the big boys right there. It's like the Coke and Pepsi. If you're looking to get yourself a domain name, be careful when you go to check out of the cart. They're going to try and sell you. They'll try and sell you your own body parts. I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff they try and push upon you. One of those things for sure is going to be website hosting. And you know what? I used to be a GoDaddy type guy back in the day, and they just oversold some of their services so much. And I don't mean to trash them. They have some products that are actually valuable and are pretty good, but it's not where I'd want to spend my money. You can maybe get a better deal with another website host. I have a few of them over on my resources page if you care to do that. Just a FYI, they are affiliate links. So what that means is that I get kind of a commission or kickback on it. But trust me, I wouldn't be involved with something that has an affiliate link if I thought it was garbage. I've actually pulled from several things that I used to push and I used to recommend to others. Like I said, GoDaddy used to be one of them too. And they sell a whole bunch of different stuff. But I mean, you could definitely go with something. DreamHost is the one that I definitely recommend. And I know it seems like I don't want to be the sellout here and tell you, but it's like 90% of the stuff I go on there. I've had some others that have been very good. One of the ones that I haven't had much success with either in low-cost host is HostGator. And what happens is, even if you go on something like a DreamHost or a GoDaddy, if you go for like their cheapest plan, it might be good enough for you, but when you start to scale and you start to get traffic, you're going to be on what's called like a shared box or shared web hosting services. There might be like 5,000 other websites on the same computer. That server, that web host, it's a computer that sits out there somewhere connected to the internet, and all of your stuff is stored to it. But if you imagine your own computer at home, or even just take your smartphone, just look at it. Imagine like 5,000 people on that same device. Yeah, it tends to be a little bit of a bottleneck. So be careful with some of those things, even with the ones I recommend. Usually I like to go with something that might be a little bit better. They may have like a WordPress hosting if you're looking to do and launch a WordPress site. That's something that's almost pretty easy for you to kind of do it yourself if you don't have a website and do something like that. There's other things. You could always buy cheapo templates, or you could find WordPress developers, someone like myself. That's what I do. You know, these are things. I got into web development originally, and I have like dovetailed into the social media end of things and working with marketing agencies and things of that nature. It was a natural evolution for myself. And of course, my background, in case anyone's wondering, was actually, it was computer science, but I switched over to English. So that's why I'm all about blogging. That's why I could talk like forever. Anything that's with creative, I just love it. But I kept the minor with the computer science stuff. It just wasn't into being a programmer necessarily. I don't want to build IBM's Watson. You know what I mean? Websites, just good enough right there. And that's pretty much what the curriculum was for that branch off of the English department that I was in ages and ages ago from an accredited state university. But enough about myself. We are talking about the website hosting. And of course, depending on what you buy there, WordPress hosting. Well, the reason I got into that, I'm sorry, if you end up doing something like WordPress, everyone hears about it. You could do your own site and things of that nature. And some of it's a learning curve. Some may be over your head. It's originally a blogging platform altogether. It's turned kind of into this quasi-content management system that's used by like 70% of the web. It's personally my favorite thing to develop websites with, build part of the foundation of most websites that I build. There are some competitors out there, maybe not so great. Actually, when you hear this, and WordPress is actually something that's free of charge software to use. If you go to the WordPress.com instead of the .org variety, then that's the commercial end of it, and they will sell you a monthly thing, a whole package there. And there's nothing wrong with that. You could do that, and you could put your domain name on it too, and nobody would know any different. But what I don't want you to do is set up joekuzma.com or joekuzma.wordpress.com. It doesn't look as professional. You want to have stuff that looks on the surface top notch, okay? And that can happen too if you buy a template and you don't fill it out all properly, and you have like the Greeking, like lorem ipsum, that you see that a lot of times, placeholder text still on these things. Just be careful. Be careful out there. One of the worst, by the way, which you could do, and you see it advertised all the time for $1. GoDaddy says Site Builder. They're selling you like this really, how do I want to say it, like Frankenstein version of WordPress. It's trash. It really is. Wix, there's another one. It sticks in my craw. I like to make money as a web developer. They're trying to steal it from me, obviously, but I check out these tools. I know people that come to me, hey, this website stuff isn't working properly, or how do I do this? How do I do a blog with Wix? Yeah, well, good luck with that. It's pretty garbage. You get into stuff like Squarespace, I believe is the full term for it, Shopify, these ones that deal with a little bit more e-commerce. Well, that's kind of good, because now if you want to take credit cards for certain things, it's all offloaded through them. But of course, that comes as a premium. I think they start at like at least $50 a month. So a little bit more money involved, especially if this is something you're doing just as a hobby. Just be careful. They have all the same templates and things of that nature, but of a little bit higher quality. And of course, if you're paying for their service, they have support there for you as well. But yeah, the whole Wix thing, it's like drag this, do that, do this, then try looking at it on a phone or a tablet. Just, it's not very good. So you got to go with something a little bit better than that. And of course, if you have website hosting and you have good website hosting, a lot of times that comes with email. I'm going to talk about email in a second, but this enables you now, if you have like WordPress and that, this enables you to get into the world of content marketing, because now you can point people to your joekuzma.com, your own personal domain name, with this professional, hopefully looking website or something that resembles something that's professional. It's not, whatever, joekuzma.wix.com or some trash like that, where people know you're just cheaping out and you might be a fly-by-night. That's not a good thing. But now you have this solid host. You have a website that's going to stay up and not have to worry about it crashing or anything like that. You can start working on a blog. You can start working on podcasts. You can start working on email stuff, and everything can be tied right to it. Like I said, this is really your online business card. Now, you want to take that maybe a step further. I was talking about emails and email addresses. One thing that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody is involved in business and you get something from, I don't know, joe@gmail.com, and it's like, or Joe, usually like numbers, right? Like 194218@gmail.com. That doesn't look very good anywhere. You're going to put that on a business card, or do you expect it to go through to someone's inbox? And I'm not going to say that every website host has the best email platforms for you to use. I've had problems with all of them, usually. But usually you could set up and use something like an Office 365 or Google, always changing the name of the product. I think it's G Suite now, is Google Apps for Business and Gmail for Business, and they named it so many different things over the, I swear they change it like every 6 months. So you can pay for those. They cost a little bit more, but what you get there is reliability. When you email someone, you don't have to worry, did it go through space and get to its intended person and not end up in junk or spam? Even my beloved DreamHost, culprit sometimes. I have good luck with it, but if you have like 10 people in your office too, you're probably going to want to have something that's a little enterprise email as well. And you'll notice when you check out of something like GoDaddy, they're selling you all this stuff. Actually, all they're doing is really, in most cases now, just reselling you Microsoft services. You may as well just go to Microsoft and get it, unless you really need this one-click type of setup type thing and make it easy on yourself. It's really not that difficult. Once it's set up, it's usually just done unless you end up changing services for some reason. But, of course, your big email houses such as Yahoo used to have the same thing too. And I don't know if Yahoo still hosts. I don't know what Yahoo does, to be completely honest. Yahoo has kind of fell off the face of the planet, as has AOL. But those two, you know, as far as email, along with Gmail and whatever Microsoft's domains are today, they change like Google changes their business and branding names. You had live.com, hotmail.com, stuff like that. Those are all reputable. They're all good for personal email. When you send somebody something and you're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm doing this business, blah, 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 and it's on behalf of whoever at hotmail.com. That's cool, because that's like my personal one. But when I send something to somebody, my email address is at joekuzma.com. I should have actually named it me at joekuzma.com, but it's hellojoe@joekuzma.com. If you ever want to contact me and you have some questions on some of this stuff, that sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? It sounds pretty good that you have it under your own .com name as well. And then what you do is what you've done, you're separating your personal life from your business and professional life. Or if you have more than one kind of like side hustle or gig, let's say you have a job and then you're trying to build a little bit of a side business, you know, doing whatever it is. Let's say you're into carpentry and you build knickknacks or whatever it is. Well, now you have that aura of professional. In fact, maybe people don't even know that you have another full-time job, you know, that actually pays the bills while you're getting this scaled, ready, and making it, you know, into maybe your full-time gig that replaces the full-time gig that you have. So these are the things that you got to think about. I hope you have these 3 basic building blocks for your website, and then this parlays into all of the content marketing, that umbrella I talk about with blogging and podcasting and all of that good stuff. You're going to tie your website, of course, to Facebook, because face it, if you only have a Facebook page and then you have like a joe.wordpress.com and then you go and you buy one of these like a SoundCloud or something for a podcast, your stuff's scattered everywhere for one thing. You don't have the control that I like you to have on it, that I'm always preaching, you know, like Facebook and everything like that, and things disappear. You can certainly get by with it. There's people who've been successful that way, but it's an exception to the rule. It really is. So remember the 3 basic building blocks for any website, even a new website, even an existing website. You're sitting there with the Gmail thing and you're thinking, you know what? He's on to something. I'd like to have something that's mybusiness.com instead for my email. You can still go out and do it. So domain name, website hosting, email, a professional email address. And I'm going to talk about email signatures here in the future too. Don't do them. Keep them basic, plain text. We're going to talk about that some more in a future episode, also a future blog post as well, because it's just way too important if you put pictures and stuff in there. I don't want to get off into that tangent, but again, the more garbage you load up in the email, and if you have garbage email or personal email, it ends up in the garbage, the spam and the junk mail. So you You don't want that. You don't want that at all. You want a professional domain name that goes to a reputable, reliable host that's going to load your website and doesn't have a trillion people sharing the same box where everything's stored. And then you could use an email address now that you have that fancy domain name. It's almost like having vanity license plates. Pretty cool, huh? Make you feel a lot better, hopefully, because you don't want to be lost in the crowd with the same mumbo-jumbo license plate, and then you just look like just another person that's out on the highway with your daily commute. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Discontent Show. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I encourage you, because most of everything I talk about here, it doesn't really expire or go away. So I challenge you to go back, listen to a few episodes if you haven't already. Dig into the archives. You're going to learn a little bit more about all those things I was talking about with content marketing, social media marketing, and there's a lot more from where that came from coming in the near future, at least once per week here on The Discontent Show. Until next time, my name is Joe, and I like to tell all of my listeners to be safe, be good, and I'll catch you later. Hi folks, this is Joe Kuzma. No, don't worry, you're not hearing things twice. I'm just here to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening to today's show and being a follower and subscriber of the Discontent Podcast. And I want to remind you that if you're interested in more information about all the various things it is that I do, whether it be about this show, content marketing, or you want to ask a question, you may visit me at joekuzma.com. That's JOEKUZMA.com. Or you can follow me as well on Facebook. Make sure you get the page and not the personal profile. Sorry, it's only for friends and family. Also on Twitter at Joe_Kuzma, LinkedIn or Instagram. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe, whether that be on iTunes, YouTube, or your favorite podcast provider, so you don't miss out on any of the great episodes that we have. Once again, thank you again for your support, and I look forward, as always, to speaking and interacting with each of you again soon.